2 has a slopes in it.
Well, that I believe was our opening for the show.
Was me singing?
Yep.
Got him. Uh-oh, guys, we're gonna get our audio nuked because we just sang copyrighted music.
Good evening, all of our friends out in UFS land, and a special shout out to Jack Hale and Company at Champion Card Collector.
Yep. You got it right. Only took 3 weeks.
In Poughkeepsie, New York. They are going to be watching us live during their UFS League night. So welcome to them. Glad to have them here. This week we're doing our second question and answer session. But before we get to that, let's talk about RockCon.
It was fun.
RockCon was a great time, man.
I think it was very profitable. I made some money, and we got some new UFS players. Hopefully they show up for the tournament this week. And
yeah, that's the most important thing to come out of the weekend, I think. Well, we'll see if it's the most important thing, but I think we got several Rochester locals who are interested in the game who might become regular players.
I'm sad I won't get to see if they actually show up, because I'll be going to visit Poughkeepsie this weekend.
I mean, you get to go play UFS with them, so that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hughes got the demo Chaosmos for 3 days straight.
It was fun.
One of our wonderful products offered in RochesterCCG.com. For those of you who aren't familiar with Chaosmos, it's a hidden information game where you play a bunch of aliens searching for the mystical ovoid as the universe comes to an end. So, fun times. I think I'd like to do more events like RockCon, get some more UFS players, and proceed in the future.
That'll be a lot of fun.
You may also notice tonight I'm wearing a Bills jersey. I'm pleased to announce that while I was at RockCon, the Buffalo Bills won their season opener. For those of you who don't watch football, that's kind of a big deal because the Bills are kind of bad. So
hey, don't impugn the patron saint Rex Ryan and his glorious salvation that is raining down upon our enemies.
He went like 3-12 last year with the Jets.
Well, I guess that means the Jets suck more than the Bills, right?
This week I'm excited. We're going to be taking on the New England Cheaters. Hopefully they check to make sure the balls are all fully inflated.
And we'll also talk about UFS.
And now we're talking about UFS. Matt Hughes is going to be hosting the questions. He's going to hit us up. Kevin and I are going to try to answer as many as possible and try to ramble on for the next 56 minutes.
Yeah. All right. Let's start off with some simple ones before we get the ball rolling. Jesse Cervini asks, what's our favorite of the September and October promos?
Those promos are Satoshi and Reese, and
yep.
what else?
And the Foundations, the Zoe one that tries to stop Lilith and Gemini Man shenanigans. And
that's right.
The one with like Vespera and Ulrich and Roy. I think it's a card filter effect on it.
Nobody needs shirts. Just walking topless. My favorite's definitely Reese. I like Reese.
Well, I'd like to create some discussion. I'm also going to go with Reese. He's going to be super exciting to play.
I'm also going to go with Reese just because I've been on a Valiant Assault kick for the first time since that card ever came out.
You have missed a fun time with Valiant Assault.
Yes, I
Valiant
have.
Assault carried me to a win at Canadian Nationals in 2012.
Dude, where's your Valiant Assault Jiffany Jambert deck? Let's go.
Jiffany Yamber.
I'm working on that. Kinda.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. We won't get into that though. Anyways, so we all like Reese. We're gonna say that Reese is probably the best one.
I think he's. I doubt if he's the best. I think Satoshi's really good, but he's cool.
Mm-hmm.
He does stuff, and you can build around him, and he excites me. And he rubs me in all the right places. You know what I mean?
And I get to play one of my favorite artworks. That is our backdrop.
Yeah, Reese's art on the new card is fantastic. That belongs in like a church in stained glass.
It's gorgeous.
Hint, Jasco Games.
Jesse's other question is, if there is a card that we wanted to be reprinted from older sets, what would it be?
Oh,
Alright,
there are
so
so many.
my instant response, my first response was that he asked us, what do we want to be reprinted, not what ever could be reprinted, and my answer to what do I want to be reprinted is Hei Sheng Zhang, the split asset attack that looks at the top 5 cards of your deck in so many different ways.
If I had to choose a card to bring back that couldn't come back, I would actually go with Vast Resources.
You're a dirty boy.
Me,
Draw-
it would have to be one of my favorite characters to play, Starter Deck Sakura.
Now, as far as something that could possibly ever see the light of day, is I would love an effect like Green to come back, or Beginner's Luck for those of you who don't know the alternate version.
Yeah, there's spaces for it. It's been shown that there's kind of things that come back for it. Like there's
We've got Tribal
there's
Protector.
one that works if you have an asset in play. Yeah, there's Tribal Protector. Like if you do one that's specifically only on attacks and blows itself up, that seems perfectly fine in line. No block.
Blocking's for bitches.
Maybe up
Kevin's-
the difficulty or something.
Kevin's
I think
thinking
my
really
answer,
hard.
my answer might have to be Winners Never Quit.
Bring
More
back
so for
winners.
the art than anything else. So dreamy.
Is it because of the art?
Yeah, it's for the art. So dreamy.
I mean, that is like the stickiest card in my collection is Winners Never Quit. Because it got all so much play.
All right. Next one is Chris Smith asks if we ever got Injustice for UFS, which is the DC fighting game. What symbols would we like Batman to have?
Oh, this is easy. I'm going to go with Order, Holy, and a POW symbol.
That's
Sounds about
the
right.
new-
Or maybe even a Zowie.
How about the bat signal?
Just like the Batman oval, the yellow
Yeah.
oval with the bat in it.
Batman symbol, POW symbol, Order.
Well, I mean, I have in tournament said before that I want to give my Omniel the Batman symbol. Then I've been instructed that I can't.
I can confirm this. I've been there.
I've done Hunt for
I've also
Jin.
tried to give him the Decepticon logo.
I've done Hunt for Jin for the Ace of Spades many years, many times over the years.
Injustice, I think, would be a really cool license. And given the fact that we got Mortal Kombat, it means that WB is interested in at least wheeling and dealing with us.
Mhm.
So that could maybe include a future with DC characters.
Yeah.
I have to imagine it's really hard because Injustice already, like I mentioned, there's like licenses out there for a lot of Batman intellectual property, a lot of Wonder Woman intellectual property, a lot of Superman intellectual property, and that getting all the lawyers for all those IP holders in line, that'll be really difficult. But yeah, it'd be really cool if we got it. Obviously.
I mean, Warner Brothers owns all of them under an umbrella. The biggest problem would be the fact that I believe they're already in another card game. It's an LCG, but they're in another card game.
Oh, fair enough.
All right, here we go. Next one. Brett Blaze asks, in an Iori deck, would we rather run Navose or Homura Hitogi, and why?
I think that this question,
It's not close.
yeah, it's. My
see
first
the
response
reason.
is instantly Navos by a million miles. It's just a much better card. It's got a high block for what that counts for. I mean, it does insane damage. You need to play a lot of speed pumps in Iori. You've played a ton of enhances in Iori in general. And then I go to, well, how could I possibly be wrong here? When could Homura Hotogi be better instead?
Time, man.
I'm struggling to think of a reason, honestly.
When
Yeah, I mean,
you got to get a lot of
unfortunately-
attacks in there, and you haven't removed stuff from the game because they keep blocking.
Well, yeah, if you have 3 attacks in your card pool, then it's cheaper than Navos.
I mean, that's already
It has desperation too.
Yeah, it has Desperation 5. I know that card very well.
Nevos has what?
Yeah.
Desperation 3?
Yeah, that's a
Yes.
2 as in TOO. The Wonders of English. I forgot they both
Yeah,
have
but
it.
that's what I was saying. That if you have 3 cards in your card pool, it's cheaper than Nevos. But until then, Nevos is equal or cheaper.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just
Oh.
can't think of many situations where I would ever, if I'm sitting there building a deck and I've got them both on the table, ever choosing Hamura Togi. Ever.
Yeah, if your opponent plays a lot of enhances, and especially if they're weak to low zones, that could be better. If there is actually a point where Hamura Togi makes your other attacks better as well, because Iori's throw counts the desperation rating of the card in your card pool, and then his 5-speed mid attack is the desperation rating of a card removed from game. So it counts for more damage on those. But I think the reversal keyword and just the Nevos virtually starts at 8 damage, and then you're playing cards like Violent and Embracing His Curse and the speed pump of his. It's just Desperation E +1 speed, and which also has a second enhance on it, and it adds up to so much damage so fast. And I think Iori can start you can throw out 2 Nevoses on turn 2 pretty easily. And if they block both of them, they might be in trouble. But you can play the baiting you with Nevos game, where you play a Nevos and you hope you expect them to block it, and then you still have a game plan after that. I think it's just much more powerful.
I mean, the reversal keyword feels very important as a decider in this one, because I feel like if we're trying to compare apples to apples here, Hamura Togi starts off at higher damage. It's a 2 low for 8.
Yeah.
And I think for a number of reasons that just doesn't stack up to Nevos, which is a 2 mid for 5. But first of all, I think a lot of people are running lows right now, low blocks, with snakes running around out there. Plus,
yeah.
So I don't think there's many decks you're just going to catch. Oops, no low blocks. And Nevos' ability to disrupt a kill turn as a reversal is extremely devastating, because if your opponent's trying to kill you, even if you're playing as Iori or not, and you can tell all their chips are on the table, and in the middle of their attack string you can drop a Nevose that's going to kill them if they don't block.
Yep.
Yeah,
which is very easy
just
for Iori
do
to
that.
do.
I've never been a fan of Nevos. I understand it's a good card now, but I've just never felt the need to run it. Part of it's because I don't play 2 of the 3 symbols on there very often.
I think that for me, they're both attacks that start at 8 damage, and they both do infinite damage. But Nevos is just cheaper, and it has a block, and it has the reversal keyword, and it has higher heights too. You can play a 25 damage Nevos in Iori, and it's not
Doesn't
that hard.
Hamura Togi roll a 2?
No,
it's a 3.
It's a 7 difficulty 3 control.
Okay.
Another point in Hamura Togi's favor actually is that it kind of goes to 4 speed for free. If you pay a life during the enhanced step. So, if you expect your opponents to all be ready for Nevos and to have like things that they can play just to burn enhances, it's more reliably a little bit faster. So there's that.
It doesn't stack compared to Nevos. Nevos is just better.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think that was my snap judgment. I haven't been able to convince myself otherwise, but I think we kind of laid out some reasons why you might think the other way.
And now,
if you want to try it.
And now for Brett's more fun question: what character other than base do we want to see in the next Mega Man set, Battle for Power? His choice is he wants Turbo Man. For me, I never played X.
Yeah, Mega Man X.
Didn't we say we don't? Oh, I guess we don't know. Licenses could have changed, but for me, I never played too much of Mega Man in the past. My most of my experience with Mega Man, beyond playing UFS for the past couple years, is the cartoon. So
Gutsman's ass, that it is.
Yep. So basically, all the Robot Masters that were in that have already been made. So I wouldn't mind seeing like a 2-dot version of one of them, just so they get more support. Like I wouldn't.
1 dot for each cheek, baby.
Yeah. Like another Guts Man or another Cut Man.
Or Dr. Wily.
Doctor Willie.
Yeah, I have been liking my Dr. Wily deck on the side. Some more support with him would be nice.
But we'll see. I mean, I think the set's going to be super great. Hopefully, we'll get a date on it soon so you guys can give me all your money in pre-orders.
All of the money.
All the monies.
All right, now for... Oh, no, here we go. We'll go to Keenan's thing first.
Kernan Murders.
Kernan Murders asks, what's the best symbol in the game right now, and why is it air?
I'm going to go first. I'll go first.
Yep.
Yeah.
The best symbol in the game is water. Not air.
I absolutely agree.
I feel like
Why do you
water...
think
I don't know. Water just feels like it's got a lot of toys still. I feel like it's got a couple of characters that have a kill. A Gemini Man. Gemini Man doesn't have water. Derp. Yes, he does.
Yes,
He does. Yeah, he does.
Yeah, him and Lilith both have water, and they're both...
And so does Skullman.
Skullman has water.
And so does Felicia.
And Felicia, and Ever Hopeful. I mean, as we all know from watching the show for the last month, Ever Hopeful is the best card in the format, and it has water.
I think Skullman's contribution is very big here. I think another very important card that gives water an edge. Two very important cards are Shiranui no Mai and Caught Red-Handed, which is I don't feel bad about saying the most powerful effect in Standard, and also one of the better answers to it. It's got a lot of momentum, both generation and like removal available between Kim's one kick, reactive style, and some other toys. I do think there's certainly a merit to saying air here. I think air dominates numbers more than any other symbol. It has more ways to draw cards between Summer Heat, Templar, and other toys. It's got Nevos, which is just like the way you win games very easily if you don't want to think about it very hard. Which isn't actually the case, but you can just when you just build an advantage over your opponent, Nevos converts that advantage to a win. And it's got some of the best speed redux available between Dustling and Champion of Muay Thai. It's pretty hard to land a hit on air just by outspeeding them.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Matt?
I agree it's mostly water. Air is a very close second because there's a lot of good pieces. Like a lot of those characters that we were talking about in water also do have air. Namely like Felicia and Gemini Man. So there's got a lot of support from those goods. Summer Heat and Templar are really good. I guess water doesn't have an action I immediately think that's really good. So
is it an action?
It's got like air has Templar as the big thing. I think Void is really good. I don't think it's the best because it's only very solid kill condition. Really is Rain Flush. It has a bunch of decent cards go with him, decent poke cards, but
I think you're wrong about Rain Flush being Void's only kill condition.
Which other one am I forgetting?
Gotta
have an answer if you think that.
Well, I think there's a world where you can use a lot of the new stuff that came out for Bishamon. And make a deck that could kill people off of Void. I mean, that deck may still run Rain Flush, but I'm not sure it needs to.
Like, I think Rain Flush is good enough to be the win condition. I mean, I ran it at Worlds.
The scoreboard says it didn't quite get there.
Brodywan does bring up Maxima Laser, which is good in certain builds of Void. I don't like it because it doesn't have two keywords.
Well, I mean, not everything has to work with Rain Flush here.
Yes, it does.
I mean, there's only two Void characters though. There's Athena and there's Tiffany Jamber. So there's that, and then there's you can play Void Bishamon, I guess.
What about Roy? Roy has Void.
Tell me about Roy, Sean O'Brien.
Are we just?
He is really hard to ever win with.
Are we really gonna discount Metal Man?
Yes. Oh. Yes, we are.
Are we going to discount Jada?
Doesn't have
He doesn't
void.
have void.
You know, I wanted to bring him up when we were talking about water still. Perhaps that's where
Yeah,
I've done
yeah.
Canal Rosso gets my dick hard, so there's that. Like, that's a big point in its favor.
Well, I want to just rewind a little bit. We're talking about, what action does water have?
Mhm.
And I think an action that people kind of discount is Waves of Blood.
I just don't think
That
that
card
water. A symbol doesn't need an action card to be good. Action
know.
cards are the worst kind of cards.
But if we're looking for one, I mean, that card could randomly hose one of Air's best actions.
Templar, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be awful to block with a Templar, draw 2 foundations with blocks, and then get Waves of Blood. Put all your foundations in your card pool. Never block again.
Thinking about life is also really strong, but again, has the problem of killing people.
That's a pretty big problem. Like, if you have a problem killing people, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you're Garrett Brett, you can't win UFS that way.
Garrett's deck can kill people. It's like 400 damage every hit.
Garrett deck the player.
Okay.
All right, now for a little bit more of the bigger questions. Alex Marco asks, what is the most creative tournament viable deck we've ever seen? And a follow-up from Chris Ferguson, why isn't it Joe Hill? Or is it Joe Hill?
You look excited, son.
I am. I remember back at Worlds in 2008, a deck that I thought was super creative that definitely wasn't Joe Hill. It was ran by a gentleman named Nick Brown.
The unwinnable, the player who cannot win a match this year.
Yes, he was building a deck. He did not like the way we had performed in teams. And so we basically had to spend the night before the event coming up with a character that both had water and fire. And the best thing we could come up with was Promo Rikuo. And he chicken kicked people to death. And it was just a magical time where he was just like chicken kick.
It was I think I remember right, the combo was I didn't think it was chicken kick. I thought it was with.
It was just the most efficient attack to use for it.
Well, chicken kick doesn't do anything though. I thought it was a rhythm break deck where rhythm breaks a card that says you can discard a fire symbol card to add an air symbol card from your card pool to your hand. So you can discard a fire card to add itself to your hand, and so that triggers Shinobi Tradition, so you can vast resources people. I thought that was the combo.
No, it killed with chicken kick.
Oh wow, I don't believe you. I'm gonna like, this card is literally blank, isn't it?
It killed with chicken kick.
Oh, maybe it was chicken kick. Son of a bitch. Well, so chicken kick's ability is commit 1 foundation, draw 1 card, ready one of your opponent's foundations. So I can imagine a world where we're committing Shinobi Traditions somehow. No, wait, this card doesn't do anything. It can't be it, dude. No.
It won with chicken kick.
No.
Yes.
If it won with chicken kick, then it could have literally won with a ham sandwich. And chicken kick was the most insulting ham sandwich he could find.
That's probably why he used it. That's kind of how Nick Brown operates.
I thought it was a Pillar of Flame deck, though. In any case, anyway, whatever. I mean, but that's not a tournament viable deck though, because it got lost.
I think it came in 17th place in a world championship that had more people than we've ever had under Jasco Games.
It also had Bloodruns 2 and Edison candidate, so it must have been pretty good.
Good times, good times.
I'm gonna go with that. It's Joe Hill, but I think it's more the character himself is very unique.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was also remembering Chester Momentum Molester. That was a pretty cool deck.
I remember that deck.
That was a deck where you put all of your opponent's cards in their momentum.
I remember that deck. I liked that deck.
So, my criteria for creativity is like, I don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like I would need an hour to explain all of my thoughts on this topic. I mean, there's been a lot of creative decks that do a lot of creative things. I mean, I feel like a creative thing is just finding a weird synergy between cards, finding a really bad card and putting it in your deck, and then winning because you're a really bad card. Well, like what appears to be a really bad card, like Chicken Kick. But then if your really bad card is just like, oh, it's actually part of an infinite damage combo, that's not really a creative deck anymore. It's just an infinite damage combo deck. And similarly, like, is a mill deck a creative deck? Well, you're just playing defense really well and then incidentally killing your opponent. So is that creative? I don't know. It's kind of just play defense and then you'll win. I don't know if that's creative or not.
I
mean, Joe Hill is certainly like exploiting interactions in an odd way that is obviously original, but at the end of the day, it's, you know, here's some cards that have an efficient rate under certain conditions, so let's play these efficient cards together and deal a lot of damage really fast. So I'm not sure.
I really liked Clint Badger's Shinko deck from Worlds this past year.
Yes.
Yeah.
I find that creative because, I mean, you got to have brass ones to bring Shinko to the World Championship.
We basically,
And
I basically
never know-
added a little challenge. Whoop, go ahead, sorry.
I can't ever tell if Clint Badger is a prodigy or an idiot. It's so hard to tell.
I believe the phrase is idiot savant.
Yeah, there you go. You're never sure which side of the coin he is right now.
But I wish I went to majors more in the past, because I think it's my own deck, so I ain't tooting my own horn. But one of the most original decks was my old Ivy deck back in like the higher caliber days that killed people with an action by gaining a bunch of vitality and then making them lose that much instead.
Yeah, like that's kind of what I mean when, you know, that deck is different. Like, or another deck that feels like the same category to me is the Legacy deck that won the last the final Legacy tournament, the UK Nationals. That was the dramatic monologue Joe Hill deck that puts your opponent's deck into their card pool while cycling action cards. Like, playing that deck is an exercise in mathematics more so than playing UFS. Does that make it creative? I mean, yes and no. I don't know.
I mean, I used the action side of Asylum and auto-passed it, so...
Yeah, because you gave your checks +6, and then it was your combo. That's how you won the game.
I don't know. I like that deck. I miss it.
Yeah, it was a cool deck, but I don't know, like creative. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I have to shout out to Garrett Brett's Tri-Symbol Hildy deck from the Worlds that Andrew Alexa won with Hildy, where he was playing Cursed Blood and Pay to Protect, and like had a Dragon's Flame kill on top of the normal Hildy stuff. Like, he was doing all kinds of crazy shit.
My brain can't handle multi-symbol decks. It just can't.
Yeah, right? So, I mean, that makes them more creative, though, right? If your brain can't handle it, I mean, it just means it's too creative for your to interpret.
I'll agree.
All right.
So, it's a really hard question. Didn't we skip one of Keenan's? Didn't he have two?
We were at the best card, the best action being Templar.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember. I didn't pick that one up actually being stated. My bad.
We talked about it a little bit.
Templar's not the best action.
I think Revoke.
It's Revoke.
Yeah, I think it's Revoke.
Just because I played in the old Void days, and stopping stuff is really good.
Yeah, like every deck has got like multiple keyword. It's got like the multiple keyword, or, you know, a big card draw, like a big. I mean, it's like the deck that Revoke's worse against, it's like a 0 cost gain 5 life. Like you cancel like some 5 damage. You cancel a big damage pump or a stun ability that lets you block, or, you know, it's really good, and it's so cheap. It's so efficient.
But yeah, like last week on Total Justice Gaming, we had Dave Freeman. We were talking about how denial strategies and whatnot are really good, and how denial is usually more powerful than other effects. So that's why I think Revoke is so good. Denial is always just going to be the better thing.
I mean, I feel like in a lot of situations, and I think about in recent memory, Revoke just seems more impactful, especially in the current meta. I mean, unless you're like having to do math and where 2 vitality is like going to make all the difference, I think a lot of decks right now would rather run into a Templar than run into a Revoke. I mean, you're trying to resolve a Trinity Geyser or multiple ability, and that gets revoked. That That sucks.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to build a deck that can wade through 4 blocks or whatever, that can deal with your opponent blocking a bunch, than it is to build a deck from the ground up that is powerful and can also, basically ignore revoke or can deal with like multiple revokes in the same turn or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I feel like in general, there's more ways to punish Templar than there are to punish revoke.
Definitely.
Oh, for sure.
You can get Waves of Blood, Trained by the Streets, Caught Red-Handed,
Short fuse.
Reformed Scientist.
Um,
If you really want to blow up a foundation to cancel the breaker.
Malicious Intent can
Yeah.
stop it.
Card handed.
All right. So Jack
Speed
gave
bumps.
us a very long question that I'm not going to read out, but it boils down to our thoughts on ultra rare characters. And
I
what
think
should be
everyone
done
hates
about
them, so I'm going to defend them a little bit. I think ultra rare characters are it's really cool when you like when you have a powerful character that, like, I feel like Snake Man's a cool character, and I don't mind Snake Man being an ultra rare. Basically, I think it's really clear what he does. I think you're excited when you open your first one, and that opening 4 of them is just as bad as opening 4 of any mediocre ultra rare that you only want to play one of. I wouldn't mind if Gemini Man were an ultra rare. People would complain, "Oh, it's a cash grab," and then they'd be pumped to open every Gemini Man they get.
My problem with ultra rare characters stems back to the Tides of Vengeance time, where the distribution was awful, and you opened a character box. I mean, if you opened a box that had Omniel, Alice, or Caden in it, well, that's 3 of your ultra rares in that box is Omniel, Alice, and Caden, and thanks for paying $72 for that.
Yeah, but I mean that's a problem with the distribution, and you got the flip side of the distribution where you had the Divine Tribulation, Paralyzing Touch, like nutshot box.
But
well, I don't even foresee, I wish for a future where I don't have to open 3 ultra rare characters in a box. I foresee people being very happy about that if they didn't have to deal with that.
I personally, I want both worlds. I want to open up the box with all the awesome ultra rares and get the ultra rare characters. I want the ruler slot idea that Force of Will has, where they basically every single pack comes with a rare, and then most of the packs in the box either come with another rare in it, or the main thing it can come with is 3 to 4 packs of the box will come with a ruler. So your character card eventually, basically.
Yeah,
so if they just were
the-
an extra thing, like if they took up like just a basic common slot in a couple of packs in the box, that's what I would like.
Yeah, I think it's really cool how in Force of Will, like, characters actually are worth something.
Mhm.
You actually have your like your what's the guy, the guy who wrote the storybook
Grim.
he's actually like powerful and sought after and desirable in his own right, and it's not like the flagship of your game characters are just like meh, whatever. This is trash. I have 15 of these, and I'm sick of opening them.
The downside to a system like that, though, is it'd be awful to buy a booster box in a game where you have to have one of these things, and you get 3 characters and none of them you want to play. I would rather see more characters at the uncommon slot.
But like, I mean, I don't like it when I have 15,000 copies of Metal Man sitting in my bulk box at home, and they're completely worth this. And you open 3 characters in your box, and they're all worth $20. You can get the character you want by trading them.
But I want to back a card in Metal Man, a whole deck, just back a whole deck.
I want to back them in Murderous Intent. Oh wait, I can.
By the way, Matt Hughes is always looking for your copies of Murderous Intent.
Yeah.
You have copies of Murderous Intent in your binder at home. He will pay you $20 a piece for them.
No, I will not.
He'll probably pay for shipping if you have enough, though. That's actually the case, though.
Yes. I will definitely do something if there's a gigantic pile of them being sent to me.
I'm looking in the peanut gallery here, and Jack Hale says that a lot of his players complains about a crappy rare that they can't trade if it's a character. I mean, under the current system, you're really hard pressed to ever trade for a character, unless it's like a promo or staff
Or a
card
Snake
or stamp
Man.
card.
Like, yeah, bad rares exist, and they're gonna happen, and like people will find things to complain about when they get cards that aren't desirable. And I think that like characters are often not desirable because you only need one of them. But I think that like there's bad rares, and people complain about opening Skull Bear, what's this, Skull Buster? That's not a terribly good card, not a terribly desirable card for a lot of people.
I've traded every single copy of that card though, and I have a giant stack of Crashman.
Are you sure you haven't had your people trading with confused and thinking it was Skull Barrier?
I'm sure. Like, if I can trade away Donkin.
Donkin's a desirable card for people, though. It says draw 2 cards.
I like cards that say draw 2. I mean, I think there's always going to be bad rares and ultra rares, whether it's Caden 2 or your bad ultra rare is Coltesti Fortress. They're going to exist at no matter what rarity level and what kind of card it is. I just feel like characters it's just an awful sting, especially if you're trying to crack through box. You picked up a box, and because you're really looking to get Skull Barrier and Danger Zone, you don't get either of them, but you get 2 ultra rare characters. Mm-hmm. Whereas if those ultra rare characters were like Rain Flushes, well, geez, I have enough Rain Flushes. Maybe I can string together a trade for a Skull Barrier, but no one's going to trade you Dr. Poop Sack.
I see what you're saying, but it really just, I mean, yeah.
Oh, we'll see what the future holds. We've brought this up a couple times. Maybe Jasco Games will do something.
I mean, I do think that like everyone hates ultra rare characters that I've talked to, and I'm struggling to like present any coherent argument.
As quickly as you set them up, we just knock them back down. I think that's kind of the general.
You've ranted against ultra rare characters more, and I mean, yeah, it sucks having bad cards that no one wants.
All I care about
a lot of times what happens when you only need one copy of an ultra rare character.
All I care about is I want my character foil. It's the only thing.
Foil characters are really nice.
Yeah.
Checkmate on commons. Next question.
All right. Now we're getting to some of the bigger questions that I think will occupy most of the rest of our show. Nick Brown asks, are we moving more towards a more open meta where a variety of decks and strategies are capable of not just winning games but actually taking tournaments, or are certain power cards and characters just keeping the meta closed?
I can tell you one thing that's not opening up the meta and will never, ever help the meta at all, and that's Dr. Cossack. Nick Brown, why did you play that horrible deck?
Nice pump fake.
I was going to go on an ever hopeful rant there.
Nice pump fake there.
Hey! Let's be fair. He clung to like 3 draws. You know. I mean, and when you're playing against Dr. Cossack, you have to come to 34 life, and you have no idea what the fuck's happening. So you're gonna play a little slower. You know, it's not all his fault.
3 draws is great if you're Garrett Brett and you won the other 4 matches. Then you're gonna get in top cuts. 3 draws and 4 losses isn't gonna cut it.
And hey, you know, now I gotta show you what's up this week, because I really liked speaking of Garrett Brett, his Dr. Cossack list that he posted with 4x Mukuro Fuji and tons of card draw.
Well, it sounds like Kevin Broberg gets the gauntlet of the week. Guess what you're playing this Friday?
Net decking Dr. Cossack from Garrett Brett, deal. I'll net deck Garrett Brett every challenge week. Let's go.
Alrighty, so Kevin will report to us.
I'm gonna learn something this week.
Kevin will report back to us this week how Dr. Cossack treated him on Friday. Back to the Nick Brown's actual question.
The actual question, like, honestly, I feel like it's actually almost harder right now because, like, there aren't a lot of mistakes in the meta. There aren't a lot of overpowered cards. that there aren't, and then there's a wide variety of decks out there, and it's hard to prepare for all of them at once. You want to sit down and say, well, I want to beat Water Lilith. How do I beat Water Lilith? And you figure out your plan, and then you think, is Water Lilith a bigger problem for me than Evil Gemini Man? And you have to go back to the drawing board completely. And then then there's like 4 different 7-hand size characters that are incredibly powerful and have all these unique constraints on you. And then there's 5-hand size characters at the complete opposite end of the spectrum that have a totally different challenge. I think it's very wide open. I think it's very challenging right now to build decks and to play the game.
Yeah, I think the meta is, I think, more open than it has been in a long time, maybe even ever. But the trick is, it's not like I'd like to use the meta from 2014 Worlds. Like, you march into that tournament knowing that you had to beat K-Dash, you have to have a plan against Iori, and you have to have a plan against what was the third deck that year?
Despera, Phil Birch, or
Jack.
the other recursion character.
Right. I mean, you can narrow it down to like 3 or 4 decks that you had to be able to beat. But right now, I think the meta is open enough and unexplored enough that you could go to a tournament and there's going to be a player that just bops everybody or bops a lot of people with something no one expected.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the last Pro Tour had Iori and a Life Dimitri deck. I haven't seen those characters. I haven't seen those. We saw Evil Dimitri in teams. I haven't seen those really competitively recently. I mean, I played Iori in teams. I got throws off Chaos. It was a preview.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say?
Since the roster PTC.
Yeah, and it wasn't that long ago.
Oh yeah, I missed that one. I mean, he got knocked out, right?
Yeah, I knocked him out. No, I knocked him out in the first round of top 8.
Still, I mean the variety in that top 8, I think, from the St. Louis PTC, really goes to show that a lot of things can happen. I mean, and 5-hand size is still totally viable. I mean, I was playing a modified Snake Man deck, and I got taken down to Suplex City last week.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of the history of the game, you've been in a format. You've had times where a card like Ever Hopeful, a collection of cards like Ever Hopeful, that were just kind of these control pieces, negation, resource advantage, trading off resources and stuff. And you would stun with a 5-hand size character, and unless he was Dan, who was secretly a 10-hand size, you were 0% to win. You could never beat someone. And now we have multiple playable 5-hand size characters. And we have Goro, we have Clark, we have ostensibly Dr. Cossack. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I agree with the very open meta. I think I want to see what happens at Michigan to make sure it continues to stay open and people don't just look at those 7-hand size characters and stick to them. Ever Hopeful doesn't seem to be dominating as much as people think, I believe. I think Dimitri might get picked up a bit more to kind of counter that strategy a bit. And that makes it so 5-hand sizes can still stick around and beat up those 5-handers. So nice to see what happens with those kind of strategies going around.
Yeah, I mean, Ever Hopeful, I'm starting to come around on it. I don't think it's quite the menace that Z-May's Wheel Kick was. For those of you who don't know, that's like the other card that I go on a tirade about.
That's the card I want to have back. I had a lot of fun playing BB Hood Z-May's Wheel Kick.
See, you finally got an answer to that question.
A real answer, yeah.
But no, I think we just came out of a cycle of a couple years where I think 7-hand size were very difficult to play, especially with Mourning the Lost around, where you can just get bopped out of the game if you don't have the right block. And I think character cards like Jack Lamborn made it difficult for 7-hand size.
Divine Tribulation made it really difficult. You just died for free.
So I think the meta is a little more 7-hand size friendly right now. And I think for the most part, 7-hand size is. I think having 7 cards in your hand, for the most part, is a lot bigger of an advantage than having 35 life and being a 5-hander. Unless your 5-hander's got some sort of gimmick to either make each of his cards count more, or to get more cards into your hand.
Yeah, that's how it's always been. But I do think that ultimately it's wide open. Honestly.
Yeah, any deck can win Michigan next weekend.
Yeah.
Except Dr. Cossack.
Yeah. All right. And then now for a question that I kind of want to do an entire episode about, but we got 15 minutes or so. Jay Clark, Sonic, from our locals, wants to know, how does one go about creating an attack lineup for their deck?
This is easy. You're going to go to rochesterccg.com.
Shut your mouth.
Click on the ultra rare box and use as many of those as possible.
But Shield Ram's not an ultra rare.
It's garbage.
This is one of the first ones that was sent to me. So I've been thinking about this all day. So I've got a couple of ideas. One.
All right, why don't you lay them on me? Because I think this is an incredibly complicated topic.
Yeah. Step one, ignore Sean. Ultra rares are very good, but just slamming in all the ultra rares usually isn't going to work, because there's a lot of good staple cards across everywhere in this game. But number one is you decide how you want your deck to win. Do you want to throw a crap ton of attacks? Do you want? I guess there's we're in a meta.
Do you mean
right
like
now.
you want to pick your archetype?
Yeah, I mean, I started thinking about it, and I'm just like, yeah, if you want to be a more control-y deck, do you want to win on turn 2? Do you want to be a slow, dirtily recursive deck like Dimitri?
How do you choose the answer to this question? How do you know if these things are viable?
It's first off, it's based upon your symbol, to see if your deck can actually do that. Like you actually have the options. So it really comes down to character, and now that I think about it, a lot of the way the
it
game
sounds
has
like
changed.
you're saying, well, first you have to build your deck, and then you can pick your deck lineup.
Yeah,
Like you have to pick your character and your symbol, and how you're winning the game, and how long the game's gonna take.
Yeah, the game has changed a lot, and I didn't think enough about this, clearly. I should have bounced this off with you before the show started.
Well, let me try.
Okay, Sean, you want to go?
My number one thing is synergy. Make sure all your attacks work well together.
Well, I don't think you need synergy if there is like clones, and then the rest of the format is playing, clones but with a 3-check. You're gonna play as many clones as you can, right?
So my thought about this, last week we discussed the 60 card deck. And so, I mean, I think that's how I decide my attack lineup is I go into UFS Ultra, and you usually when you go to build a deck, you have a fairly good somewhat of an idea of what you want to do. If it's that week, you decide, I'm going to build Dimitri. Or you decide that week, I want to build Void. And usually what I'll do is I'll go into UFS Ultra, and I'll put like 25 attacks in my deck. Cards that I think are good. And then I'll go back and be like, this card's I got 2 different 4-mid for 4s, but no high attacks. And then I just start turning the knobs from there. And then
I think that turning the knobs is kind of the way you get started, or not even. That's kind of the way you settle on your attack lineup, and you find, you build your deck around something. Either you pick a symbol and just go from there, or you pick some combination of cards you want to have together in play, which might just be a combo attack. You might say, I want to like combo Shield Ram a lot, so I'm going to build a deck to combo Shield Ram, and that's how you build your attack lineup, is you play a lot of ranged attacks. And then you sit down and play, and you're like, well, I always have ranged attacks. I wish I had an attack that was like just better, because this my 15th ranged attack isn't a very good card anymore, because there's just not enough ranged attacks that are good. So I'm going to play some different attacks instead of ranged attacks.
I don't think, as far as any type of deck building, if it's building a whole deck or choosing your attack lineup, it's definitely not a sit down 10 minutes later, your deck is done and finely tuned.
I think attacks are the most important thing in your deck, I think. I never... I've always, when I've done deck building, it's like, unless there's some cute synergy thing I want to do, or that my deck's very focused on doing, I usually just end up taking the best foundations in my symbol. That are, like, the best answers, or the best cards that your opponent needs to answer. And the attacks are the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, it also, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to whether or not you have an idea of what you actually want to do. if you have a synergy, like when I built a Yellow Devil deck and I sat down and said, I want to play Trinity Geyser all the goddamn time. Well, then I need to have attacks that I can lead off with that do some work. I need to have foundations that do stuff in the card pool. Then I want a Trinity Geyser you. Then I want to be able to play a couple more attacks to take advantage of how I'm going to do that. And then you start thinking to yourself, well, if I want to play Trinity Geyser, I'm going to need a lot of cards in my staging area to pass control checks. Well, I better play attacks that draw me cards. Well, guess what draws cards? Valiant Assault draws cards. And to play Valiant Assault, I got to play punches. And so you end up with a deck list as well. Shoryudan is a card you can lead off with that does work. It puts a card in the card pool. Then you want to play Valiant Assault, that's a punch. Trinity Geyser is a punch. And it's like, well, now I want to run Born in the USA because I want to live the dream and Trinity Geyser combo reversal somebody.
And more so, like, and in Less Magical Christmas Land, reversal Shoryudans as Yellow Devil are devastating. So that's a great choice.
And then, I mean, sometimes decks just fall into place like that. And sometimes you're going to throw an attack lineup together that's really good, and you're going to go to the tournament and go 0-3. And then it's back to the drawing board. And sometimes, at the end of that tournament, like, this is not even viable. I'm not even going to do it. Or, I really wish I saw this attack more often. What other attacks are like this attack?
Yeah. So one deck I put together recently that I have a lot of fondness for as I play it more is a Sasquatch deck that I built. And it's very much a deck that's built around its attack lineup first and then everything else second. And so it's a deck focused on the Leona Blade with Sasquatch and, 5 difficulty attacks with Sasquatch. And it's playing... The way I worked it out was that I'm playing Blizzard Sword and... like the Blizzard Sword Leona Blade thing, like those are both like maxed out. They're both 4x. And then there were a couple of cute cards with Sasquatch that I wanted to try out of Tenraiha and Hard Knuckle, which are both range attacks. So I thought, oh, cool, these will fit with Leona Blade. And then I decided also to help Blizzard Sword out, I would play Nero Fatico, which is a weapon attack that also has a combo ability for combo attacks that works well together. And from there, I decided I'm going to put in Crimson Barrage because it has Breaker and it's a combo attack and it can combo and help my control checks and stuff. And that just came together. Like, that just came to me as I looked through the cards. And then I thought, well, Tenraiha isn't a great, it's not a great card on turn 2. It's not a really efficient attack. It does a lot of damage, and all of my attacks do a lot of damage on Sasquatch. But, like, I only want to play 2 of these. I don't think Hard Knuckle is a great, very efficient card either. So I'm going to play 2 of those. But I think Leona Blade and Blizzard Sword are very efficient, so I'm going to play a lot of those. I'm going to play just a couple copies of Crimson Barrage. I'm only going to play 17 attacks total. And the ability to just make those decisions and make those guesses and then be able to improve on them and iterate them, that's a skill that I don't know if there's a way to just, like, shortcut that. To say, if I sit down and say, hey, try to build a Tenraiha Sasquatch deck, I don't know if everyone would come to the same conclusions I came to, and theirs might be better or worse than mine at the end of the day.
Yeah, like I said, I think the idea of how to come up with your attack lineup could be an entire show, and it's something we'd have to take a while and just, like, spend an afternoon talking about.
I think
we'd have to do about that. So that might be something we do in the future.
In Magic, you can say, how do I build a mana base? And then you can answer questions because every deck has a similar mana base, basically. At the end of the day, you have dual lands, you have, like multi-lands, whatever, like that stuff. And however far you get into the conversation, if someone brings up, well, what about this one, like, weird legacy deck that doesn't play lands? How do you build that deck's mana base? You're like, shut up, dude. You're not helping. I think in UFS, especially right now, we have a wide open meta game. You can build a 22 attack deck. You can build a 25 attack deck. You can build a 12 attack deck. You can build a deck that has virtually 12 attacks. And are there general principles you can use to build an attack lineup that's one copy of 17 different cards? And then use those same principles to build a deck that's like an Iori deck where it's 4 copies of every attack. I don't think that those will. I don't think you can build. I don't think there are useful answers that will work for both of those decks that are so different.
Mm-hmm. I don't think this question has an answer. I think we could spend 2 shows talking about this and not actually be able to adequately answer Sonic's question.
That's true.
Yeah, I think Like, I think the shortcut that's important to me is find a way to do one of two things. And those two things are, like Goldfish, like deal 100 damage on turn 5, something like that. Because that's probably going to be pretty good in a game, even if your opponent's blocking pretty well. You're just you're putting so much on the board. Or make it hard to block attacks. I think that there's Athena decks out there that are built entirely around the idea that they're going to silent assassin you and then cheat another silent assassin into play and silent assassin you again. And then whatever else they do, you discarded 2 cards at random from your hand, you're probably going to get torn up by the rest of their stuff. And so if you're not doing one of those 2 things and you're trying to figure out what your attack lineup should do, and if you don't think you can do one of those 2 things, then you should either look at a different deck or look at different ways to have your foundation base support you in doing one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
What's the next question?
Well, there's only one more question that I threw in from myself, in case we had time left. I wanted to talk about the Exceed Kickstarter that started for Level 99 Games. We know that started. We know an Indian set is coming eventually. I wanted to ask people, both the people watching and you guys, what's your favorite BattleCon character? But unfortunately, I don't think you guys have gotten to play it yet.
I'm gonna go with Vincent Gray.
My favorite BattleCon character is the Emperor dude who gives your opponent gold to fight him because he wants a fair fight and he's so overpowered. Because that's the one I played as when I demoed the game once.
Me, for right now, like the only one I've actually gotten to play is Eligor. I like him. He's all about counterattacking and whatnot. And getting bonuses for being hit, basically. There's a lot of fun characters in that game, and I'm kind of excited to see what they do with Indians. And Vincent Gray doesn't count as a choice.
Why?
Is he not a character yet?
Pretty sure he was in the Kickstarter.
Yeah, but he's not an Indians character.
You asked me what my
is
favorite
that the
BattleCon
name of
character
the license? The IP or whatever?
Yeah, their whole universe, I believe, is called Indians. If I'm understanding it correctly.
So, moving on to upcoming events to wrap up the show for tonight.
Yep.
We got a PTC coming up next weekend in Michigan. The state that looks like a hand.
Next weekend or the weekend after?
I'm pretty sure it's next weekend.
Yeah, it's like not this coming weekend, but the weekend after.
The
right?
29th or something like that.
The 26th and 27th.
There we go. That one that's a weekend, not a Tuesday.
Yeah. That's going to be a fun event. I got my time off. I'm going to be going. I know Kevin's going. My wife Christine's going. Greater Hughes is going to meet us in Rochester, and we're going to take him with us. Is Lesser Hughes going?
Probably not, because I have this shiny white PS4 next to me now.
Bruh.
Comes from the guy who always complains he doesn't travel to majors.
I mean, I guess the videos are more important to him.
I mean,
okay.
We have 2 majors back to back in my backyard within a month after that. So.
But you can't go to Chick-fil-A.
Excuse me, sir. Back to back? Is that like they're on consecutive weekends or something?
That's exactly what they are.
They are.
I
thought the one after Montreal. I thought the one after that was Montreal.
Winnipeg.
Yeah. Don't we have the Poughkeepsie PTC and then right after that our 2K?
2 weeks. That's not back to back.
Oh, you made it sound like in one of our shows they were actually back to back.
No. If you paid attention to the upcoming events portion of our show, you would know that the Poughkeepsie PTC is October 24th. The Winnipeg PTC is October 31st. And then the Rochester 2K on November 7th.
I guess I just assumed the 31st there was no event or whatnot going on.
You know what they say about assuming?
Makes an ass out of the person who makes that joke.
Hey man, you're the one who said it.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
Back to the Michigan PTC, Michigan Fun Time Party Weekend. Yeah, on Friday night, everyone's gonna get into town. We're gonna get some supper. We're gonna go to
Infinite
Whirly
Pizza.
Ball. Oh yeah, we're getting the cheap pizza, unlimited pizza place, right?
Unlimited.
That's a
pizza.
good reason for me not to go. I'll die.
Hopefully it's better than
Howard.
Caesar's, because their pizza's not very good. Then we got Whirly Ball afterwards. Then we got the main event on Saturday. I think Slam has a festival he wants us to go to Saturday night.
Yeah, live music, baby.
Hopefully it's one of those ones where they got the dolls and then a smaller doll comes out, and then a smaller doll comes out, and then a smaller doll comes out.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be great.
You never seen Little Russian Dolls?
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, Matryoshka dolls, I think.
Yeah.
I know there's a thing at a live music festival.
Probably not. It depends on how weird and hippie-ish it is. Let's see. The month following is the Poughkeepsie PTC down in Po-Town. I don't think they have anything exciting planned yet. Jack
Maybe we
Hale,
can
you're
go-
out there. You better come up with
kart.
something good to entertain the masses.
The good plan is that Tim Keefe is going to be there.
Senpai.
I saw when I went to go see a movie this weekend. The woman in front of me had a jacket on the back that said Senpai on it. I thought of Tim. I was like, he should have this.
Let's see. After the Poughkeepsie PTC is the PTC up in Winnipeg. Church can just go to that fancy poutineery again, and that would be so awesome.
Oh man,
Good times are
I've had
had.
poutine in months.
For those of you who are unfamiliar with poutine, it is the most wonderful thing, where you have French fries topped in gravy and cheese curds.
It is the optimal way to nourish your body after winning Canadian national championships. It's been proven by science.
After the Winnipeg PTC is the Rochester 2K in Rochester, New York. That's going to be a shitload of fun. The night before, we're planning to head to the Lasertron in Henrietta, where we can play better Whirly Ball.
Yeah, show those Michiganders how to play.
There's laser tag. There's booze. It'll be a good time. Saturday's the main event. We'll be conducting our Swiss rounds in as much as top cuts as we can. During the Swiss rounds, there will be free beer. Concessions will be available, and lots of good stuff there. And then on Sunday, I'm trying to see if we can wrangle us up a turbo event. So Giggles can win himself another key. So that's good.
Maybe I'll pilot Hoytzel this time.
Rumor has it there's going to be an exclusive playmat for this event. And if you want to see the art for the exclusive playmat, you should head to the event page through Rochester CCG's Facebook page and check it out. It is super, super cool.
Ooh, you actually
And
you have that?
you'll only be able to get this mat at this event.
Or on probably RochesterCCG.com after the event, but supplies are limited.
No, we'll sell out of it because everyone will be there. Everyone.
All the people.
Literally everyone.
After the 2K in Rochester is PTC in Nashville. I'd like to have a lot of people show up to that event because Nashville may or may not be one of the cities I'm considering for the next 2K.
Yeah,
So-
you local, you southern folks, y'all gotta get your shit together. Pack it up, put in the shit museum, show us what you got.
And I think that's all the
Which
events.
weekend
we've
is
got.
that?
That's the weekend
December
of December
12th.
12th. So, Kevin, since you didn't know for St. Louis, Nashville is about 16 hours away.
We did this before. I've driven there. I've driven there.
I knew you didn't know how to get to St. Louis, so I figured I'd help you out with Nashville. What you're going to do is you're going to take 90 to 71 to 75. And you're there.
A lot of cruise control later.
A lot of cruise control. Last time we did it without cruise control. It was awful. Oh.
Right.
So I think that wraps up everything for tonight. We don't have any date yet for the Las Vegas Nationals thing. So hopefully Jasco Games gets us that soon, because Some of us got to buy plane tickets.
Yep. I should have that be my job. While I should go harass them. Be like, come on, come on.
Yeah, I'm sure they're working hard. This year has extra challenges because it's typically scheduled between the Super Bowl and Valentine's Day, and other adult entertainment conventions that are also in that same kind of neighborhood. And this year there isn't a weekend between the Super Bowl and Valentine's Day, so those two very busy weekends for Las Vegas travel are not going to be available.
Do not push it into March, because from what I heard, it gets a lot more expensive if we push it into March.
I would like to have January.
Yes, so would I.
That's when the weather's the worst in Rochester, except for March and April and February. I mean, it's bad enough in January. I would not mind getting out of town for a week.
Hey, my new vacation policy says I get a day off within 2 weeks of my birthday, so in January, I'm a big fan of that.
If anybody from Jasco Games is listening, it looks like the Peanut Gallery wants us to have end of January, please. So I worry if we push it too much later. I mean, if we get into March and April, hopefully not that late, then it starts to get a little close to Gen Con, and Gen Con is extremely expensive.
Yep. And
back-to-back expensive things is not good for our budgets. Luchador768 reminded us that the Adult Video News Awards happens January 20th through 23rd. So I think I'm not sure I want to be in town that week.
Why not? You could meet all kinds of fascinating people. Both people who have been on video and people who have watched a lot of people on video and perhaps have certain kinds of social skills that have developed doing so. Who knows? You could be anything.
Let's not say we did. Let's sign off for the week, guys. We'll see you next week. We'll have some new topics to discuss. We'll talk about gearing up for the Michigan PTC and what our predictions are.
Yep. Talk about something interesting. To the people watching at Champion Card Collector, I will see you this weekend. Bring your A game for Standard, because
I've got a question before we go.
Yep.
And perhaps the Peanut Gallery can comment on this later on, or comment on our Facebook. So the next time we switch to a new season of UFS, have we ever thought about maybe the three of us running a fantasy league?
Oh, interesting.
Where we choose players to be on our fantasy team to see who plays the best?
I'll play this. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, Hughes, would you like to join our fantasy UFS?
I don't know. I'm bad at those things.
Top 5 players ranked by... We can do this for nationals. We do a fantasy draft for nationals.
First pick, Garrett Brett.
Yeah, obviously.
So that's something to think about. Let us know if that'd be something you'd be interested in. See who can put together the best UFS dream team and see what happens. And we'll put some sort of wager on it. Maybe like Hughes' white PS4.
No.
I like it.
I like it. All right, it's a done deal. Yep. From everybody here at Top Deck Heroes, we'll see you next week. Good night.
Night, folks.
Bye, everyone.